Fancy new hotkeys. That's cool. Getting us to where we need to go. Oh, actually, I've missed a few things on the chat. Okay, so because it's a type of non-concatenative morphology, I could essentially fuse negative. We actually don't know, so we haven't done that yet. Thank you, Logan. That's good stuff. So YouTube, hi, welcome YouTube. What we're about to do is we're going to do some verb paradigm diachrony. We're going to take a proto-language verb paradigm and drag it into the future using a sound change applier. So if this is totally new to you, check out the playlist, because this is, we're getting on in the in the series here, and there's probably stuff you want to see from before. But if not, let's just get going. Oh, fancy new hotkeys, getting us to where we need to go. All right. So we have our last episode. We made some fun noun paradigms, which you can see here. Noun paradigms. And we are now going to make the verb paradigms. So let's move these things out of the way. And let's look at what we have for verb paradigms in the proto-language. So we have this kind of interesting system where we have different stem classes, and the stem classes are related, have an ablaut relationship to one another. So it's not an extensive ablaut relationship, but what ablaut is, by the way, I know it's another technical term, is when you have a vowel change which expresses different morphological information, much like English sing, sang, sung. So that's ablaut, or apophony, it's also called. It's a type of non-concatenative morphology. I had a comment about that on one of the videos, saying, bring in some more non-concatenative morphology. And I thought, all right, you don't have to tell me twice. So we have this system where we have three stems of the verb in Proto-Qal: stem A, stem B, and stem C. And each one, oh goodness, this is super complicated, and it's definitely going to be leveled out by analogy in the descendant languages. We have this vowel a, which in certain contexts shows up as schwa. And we have these different stems. So we have stem A, stem B, and stem C. We have this root ya, or y, which means to do. In stem A, the a shows up as a. The vowel of the root shows up as a. In stem B, it shows up as schwa, and in stem C, it shows up as schwa as well. So that is so we have a paradigm like yafa, the imperative, do. Yusu, something which does, the attributive form, and Yahweh, let's do, sort of hortative form. And so we have all of these, and then we have different endings like fa, or su, or ahwe, or hupa, or ta. And all of these endings select for a different stem, one of A, B, or C. And so depending on whether you're in A, B, or C, you're going to get different vocalism, different vowels in the root. So that's the long story short, what's going on in Proto-Qal. And so let's take some of these. There are more complications, but we'll just leave it at that for now. Let's take this verb, ya, and let's put it through the paces. Let's put it through its paces. We have all of these different forms. And we're going to see what happens once we run them through the sound change applier. It may not work. We may have to debug. We may have to roll up our sleeves. And, well, I'm not literally going to roll up my sleeves because I don't want to mess up the jacket, but you get the idea. And we're going to see what happens. So let's take a look. So let's write down what we have here. We have all these different endings, all these different verb forms. So we have, why don't we just put them here? And we have endings like so. So we can just, yeah, why don't we use these? We'll put them in Lexergy. So we have to be mindful of which type of stem each takes to know whether the root is going to show up as y or ya. And we've done it for a few of these, so we can just write them in. Yehupa. Do we have one for, oh yeah, Yota. Yota, rather. We have Yechakwa. Let's see, I could just put it in. Go through this. Yeah, there we go. Have this up on this side. Perfect. So stem A is the one with the full vowel. So we have Yafa. We have Ya, which is the predicative form. And then I think for everything else we have Ya. I'm imposing some order on this very, very gradually. Okay. Oh, interesting. So George mentions that one of these forms sounds like a very informal Russian phrase, meaning I'm shocked, which I will not attempt to pronounce. That's cool. Oh, George also has a. Oh, actually, I've missed a few things on the chat. Okay, so George West also asks how to create a case system. I very much doubt that all your systems are awful, but that's the second line of the question. I think the general approach that I like to take is find a natural language, maybe find 2 or 3, and try doing something like okay, I know some people disagree with this method, but I like to do a relex first. So a relex is a relexification. It's just keeping the exact grammar of a natural language and changing the phonological shapes. I like to often start there and then mess with it. And so what I'll do is I'll relex one language and then I'll go find a completely different language and take some idea from that and put it in and kind of cover my tracks so that the relexification isn't obvious. I know some people don't like to do this. They don't like relexification at all in any sort of guise, even if you do cover your tracks afterwards by messing things up by adding material from another language or just from your own invention. Some people don't like that, but for me, part of the big appeal of conlanging is getting an excuse to go read grammars of other languages, especially languages I don't know a lot about. And so this is kind of fun. I enjoy that. And I think it makes me a better linguist in the end. Maybe you don't have the similar kinds of goals and pressures, so take that with a grain of salt. Short answer, I like looking to natural languages and then mixing that with one part of my own inspiration or with another natural language. So hopefully that's something useful. I'm no genius. And then Logan asks, do we have semantic rules for what happens when you stack postpositional cases on different core cases? No, we do not yet have any such rule, but what happens is we have one instance of this so far, and I'll show you where it is. Where is it? Yes, we have Payawi Chaufo. So swan, genitive like. So meaning like of the swan. So this is the only case in which we've used it. So we may actually want to come up with interesting rules for that, and I think that's a great idea. So let's put that in the. I'm gonna put a little note about that. Oh, some of this has already been done. I'll have to edit it, but add, or maybe figure out rules for stacking cases in Proto-Qal, because some of these stacked cases could actually be the source of just, could essentially fuse in some of the descendant languages and just become cases that have their origin in stacked cases, but they're just different case forms in the descendant languages. That's cool. Thank you, Logan. That's good stuff. Where do they fuse in descendants? Okay. What else? Okay, so why don't we look at what this paradigm looks like when we run it through the sound change applier. Fingers crossed that it will work. Apply. It worked. Okay. And we also have, I don't know if Raven's still on, but we have some occasions for coalescence going on. We have schwa and a coming into contact. We have schwa and o coming into contact. So that could be fun to play with as well. Okay, so let's take these. I'm gonna just put them here. I don't really remember which one goes with what yet, so I'm gonna have to go back over here and we're gonna look. So predicative is ja. Done. Continuative is, oops, I chose the wrong side of this. So let's just add a column here. And for those wondering, I saw a comment earlier about advice about Control X. Yes, Control X is a wonderful tool, but the problem is in Google Sheets, if you do Control X, I don't know if it's Google Sheets or in Excel, it will remove the formatting from the cell, and then you have to go and re-add it, and it's a pain. So I always just Control C and then delete. Orchid Colors asks, I'm not entirely sure, but I want to say that Japanese has stacked postpositions, although I can't say that those are all cases. Yes. So actually, classical Japanese is one of the core inspirations for Proto-Qal. So it's no accident that you're seeing that. And the question of whether they're cases or not is actually a really, really interesting one. And we could talk for probably hours about that. We could have a whole weekend conference about the difference between cases and prepositions, postpositions, adpositions. Yeah, it's complicated. I actually tried to research this once myself, and it's all right. Got me into grad school at least. That was my writing sample. Yeah. Okay, so just if I can dwell on that a little bit because it's kind of a cool story. There appear to be some prepositions in some languages which are more case-like, and some cases in case languages that are more preposition-like. What would be a good example? So there are some languages like Irish in which certain class of prepositions inflects for person. So you have something like, let's see, air meaning on. And this actually takes personal endings. So orum on me, ort on you, blah, blah, blah. Air on him, he on her, etc. And this kind of messing about with expressing person, number, gender features on a preposition is not something that applies to all prepositions in Irish. It's just a sort of a limited subset. And so I thought, is this kind of similar? Could you think of, instead of thinking of this as on me, could you think of this as like a superessive case? This is the pronoun, the first person singular pronoun superessive form. If you think of it like that. So it's not an inflecting preposition, it's a personal pronoun with a certain case. And yeah, so there seem to be these more prepositional elements, these more case-like elements, and drawing the line between them is thorny. And I mean, I didn't pursue this because it's really thorny, actually. And you need something something that you can actually finish. But yeah, that's kind of cool. All right, so what were we talking about? What were we talking about? Oh yeah, we have all these forms here, and we got to fill our... I need to move this over so that you can see everything. There we go. So we have... This is the proto form, this is the Justamija form, and I just need to slot them into this verb paradigm. So the predicative form is ya. The continuative form is yiba. So that's going to look like that. What's the next one? Did I get this right? Am I just losing it? Let's just predicative. Okay. So I need a little bit more. So this is what we have in the proto form. So I'm going to clean all this up, and it's going to be all nice and good at some point, but not yet. Okay, so we have ya here, yiba here. Past tense is yida. Negative, we actually don't know, so we haven't done that yet. We have presumptive achwe, so that's yiri. Conditional 2, this is yik. So put that here. Attributive, this is the su form, so yizi. Substantive, this is the chakwa form. So we have yira. Conditional 1, this is the tochwa form, so we have yiduch. Concessive, this is the falo form, so we have valu, yivalu. And imperative, this is the fa form, so we have yava. Cool. Okay, so get rid of all of that. Take this over here. There we go. And so we have this interesting case. Not case in the sense of noun case, but this interesting situation where we have some forms of this verb ya, to do, where the stem shows up as ya, and then many other ones where the stem shows up as yi. And I'm okay with that. This is a kind of a very common verb. It's the kind that if you expect any to be irregular, something like to do is surely one of them. So yeah, we have a slightly irregular verb in Justamija, ya, with this form yi that shows up in a lot of the different inflected forms. That's so cool. Okay, so then let's take a more regular verb, one where we don't see this alternation of a and e, and let's look at what happens there. And this can be kind of our prototype for regular verbs in Justamija. So what do we have that might be a good case of that? And memona. Memona, or maybe osasa. Osasa to, oh no, that's a dynamic stem. So this is a little thing I did. I don't know if I did this on screen or not. Things where we see the change in stem vowel. Some verbs allow this, some just ignore it and just always stay the same. So I've called those static and dynamic stems in the proto-language. So anything with a D has the potential for being irregular in this way. And anything with an S does not. So let's find a good verb. I feel like anato. That's a good one. To enclose. Anato. So let's go over here and let's put that here and just copy all of these over. And then we have anato for all of these. Cool. And there's one other thing, because of some complicated stuff that we won't talk about now. The static stems have some different endings than the dynamic stems. So I'll just go back to that and, oops, go back to the proto. Where on earth is it? Here it is. So instead of hqua, they have hqua for the substantive form, and instead of ta, they have ta for the past form. Okay. What do I always say? You gotta stay limber. You gotta stay limber when you're conlanging, or else you'll regret it. Speak from personal experience there. Okay, so back to the Justamija grammar. So we have. Oh, actually, I should pause for questions. Raven's got some coalescences for us, so I'm going to put those in here. So we might go. And one thing that's nice is we're not married to any of these proposals yet. That's kind of funny. So we can play around and see what looks best. I'm just going to write down Raven's suggestions here. These look great. Ooh, nice. Ooh, nice arrows, Raven. Okay, so let's continue. All right, so I guess all we have to do is run the sound changes. Apply. And I didn't even do the fingers crossed thing. I am getting, what's it called? Hubris is coming over me. I'm becoming over proud. All right, so then so we have Antu is the, this is the part of the problem with doing it in spreadsheet form. Do. And then we have to enclose. And so to enclose is Antu. And what else? Continuative form is aniduda. Oh, interesting. You see, this is what happens. Oh, you can't see it. It's a bit off screen, but the font size is slightly different. Do you notice that? I notice. Take that. Okay, so then there's that. The past form is anidut. So these are slightly out of order, but whatever. And we have the negative, which we have not decided on, which I guess we should, but we're not going to right now. Anturi. So that rounding is due to vowel harmony, not reflected in the orthography, because it's totally allophonic. Oh, I should also mark down where things are stressed in unexpected ways, such as this, Anturi. What else? Antuk. Attributive. Aniduzi. Substantive. Antuduch. Antuduch. And is that correct? No, that's not correct. That's conditional one. Colin, what's wrong with you? Substantive is antuk. So it's actually homophonous with the conditional to. Interesting. Concessive is the falu form, so antuvalu. And then imperative is aniduva. Okay. Ooh, interesting. Did I miss one? Oh, I did. This is wrong. It should be antuba. And then if we are to... you can't see the vowel combos. Thank you, Moon. Moon Truther. Helping out. Reminding me what's off screen. Yeah, the stream thing is not exactly the same orientation as my monitor, and sometimes I forget. Okay, so here are our vowel combos. Apologies in retrospect to people on YouTube who are watching and saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" Colin, what are you doing? All right, so what do we learn from this? We learned that even this regular verb, antu, has two forms, two stems, antu and anidu, which is kind of interesting. That sounds like something that would probably want to analogize out. I don't know. Yeah, I think we may want to analogize that out. If we're going to have regular verbs, I don't want every verb in this language to have such divergent forms. For the really common ones, yes. So what we might do is just converge on the predicative form and do something like antu, antuba, antut, antuchi, anturi, rather. Sorry, this should be written with a P. Anturi, antuk. Instead of anitusi, we have antusi. And then instead of aniduva, we have anduva. And then this leaves only the question of coalescences. So if we are to pursue the coalescence route, which I'm more and more inclined to do the more I think about it, we would use something like this. So schwa giving us schwa-a and ashwa both giving us a. And so if we were to do that, then we would get something like antaba and antari rather. So that, again, that might end up being analogized out in the case of a regular verb due to the strength of antu, 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 antu everywhere. The stress shift, I think, would probably stay, but because that's fairly transparent. But the fact that oo verbs are going to show up as ah in some forms, I don't know. I don't know. Question from Raven Might. The removed e was actually stressed. Yes, it actually. So in the case of aniduzi, the inherited form would be aniduzi. But what we've done is we've analogized it because we have this root antu. And so instead of using the regular form that we'd expect due to sound change, we exercise analogical privilege, and we replace the root aniduzi. We replace the root component in aniduzi with antu. So then we get antuzi. Totally just analogy, which is always a force in language change, undoing all the cool weirdness that happens due to sound change. And so then we can look at this and say, okay, what are the endings? What are the forms in the synchronic grammar in the minds of speakers of Justamija? So we have something like, so I'm going to move us a little bit over. Can we do it? There. So we have something like nothing for the predicative form. We have something like ba with stress shift. I don't know how to write that concisely. So let's just move us over a little bit, please. There we go. We don't need this. We don't need these. And then we have T in the case of, so these are the regular endings here. Sorry. So we have T, don't know for that. We have ri plus stress shift. We have Q for conditional 2. We have Z for the attributive. We have Q for the substantive. We have, colon please, be consistent with how you spell things. Tuch for the conditional 1. We have valu for the concessive. And we have fa for the imperative. And the question is, okay, so then there are a few questions. I'll follow up on Raven Might's question, where should the stress fall in regularized forms? So we have a basic stress rule, which is antipenultimate in Justamija. Justamija, like that's a good way to remember it. The only time that we see divergence from that is when there's some kind of coalescence that in the proto-language, or there's hiatus in the proto-language that was resolved by coalescence, and then we had a long vowel at some intermediate stage which attracted stress. That only happens in morphologically complex forms. So no morpheme has a vowel-vowel sequence in it in the proto-language. So we can kind of safely say that any morphologically simplex, okay, I need to maybe stop with the terminology. Any form that does not contain multiple morphemes is going to have antipenultimate stress. At least as a general rule, there may be some forms in Justamija which historically had multiple morphemes, but synchronically in the minds of the speakers do not. And they may or may not have different stress patterns, or have the potential for different stress patterns. Yeah, okay. So that's kind of cool. And then we have actually some different endings for the irregular forms. Only for some of them. So we have all the same. So for regular verbs and for irregular verbs, this is still the same, same. But for irregular verbs, we have ha, same. So we can say and that's kind of cool. So that's our paradigm. We still need to come up with a negative, but we can do that in the context of some sort of text, I think. Right. Okay. I think I'll cut it there, and then we'll go over and we'll talk about Lang 3b, which we'll actually give a proper name to. So we'll do my little YouTube thing where I go out to the main camera and thank everyone. Thank you for joining us on YouTube in the distant future. Watching this, I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope it's showing you a bit of the process. Of course, if you're watching this in the playlist and you've seen this far, well, you know what this is all about. So, but if not, hey, subscribe. More will always be coming. We've got a lot of Conlang content coming at a rapid pace. So consider joining us for that, and we'll see you next time.